everyone. What a great icebreaker, Emily. Keep dropping in your AI dream list in the chat box. We'll come back to it. Welcome. For anyone who's new, my name is Melanie Naranjo. I'm the CPO at Athena. We are a compliance training company. We help companies build smart trainings for their companies, and we cover everything from harassment prevention and cybersecurity all the way to hotline and case management and course building tools. And one of the things that we've learned as we continue to partner with my fellow people community is the importance of knowledge sharing, whether it's compliance related knowledge sharing or AI related knowledge sharing, which let me tell you, there is quite the overlap happening right now. We love putting these webinars together so that we can meet with you all, build community. You can already see it in the comments. We're very, very grateful that we've built such a large community. This is your place if you've been looking for fellow people leaders and you want to connect. Contribute in the comments, share your contact information, connect with each other afterwards. This is a great place to make that happen. With that said, today we're going to be talking all about how to take AI to the next level beyond ChatGPT, including how to leverage AI agents, copilots, and workflows. And to help me do this is our very own guest star AI wizard, Emily Mabie, Senior Learning Designer at Zapier. And Emily, I remember that I found you through your both hilarious and delightfully high-value LinkedIn posts where I was like, wait, you're doing what with AI? I thought AI was ChatGPT. I'd been like screaming into the void, is AI just code for ChatGPT? And then I saw your post and I was like, no, it is not. And I was like, I have to get you on this webinar. I have to get you to share your knowledge with us. Thank you so much for joining us. Emily, tell the audience just a little bit about yourself before we go ahead and kick this off.
Hey everybody, that was the nicest intro. I am Emily Maybe. My pronouns are she, her, and I am at Zapier. My background is actually in like learning design and like particularly public education. So I feel really passionately about sharing what I learned with other people, which is why I am such a menace on LinkedIn. And I'm really excited to be here with all of you today.
Love, love, love. I promise you, the bulk of today's session is going to be just live demoing. Emily is literally going to live screen share and build these workflows. You are going to get it in action today. But first, let us set the stage. So for anyone who's new here and doesn't know, I make these interactive, so I will be using the comments. I may or may not call on people. If you don't want to be called on, just put an asterisk next to your response, and that will be my cue to leave you alone. Maybe you're an introvert, maybe you're washing the dishes. Doesn't matter. I want to respect your boundaries and I want you to still be able to contribute. So with that said, let's go ahead and kick it off. We're going to be covering Path to AI Wizard, getting into the trenches with a live demo. We'll do an Athena AI Spotlight, how we're incorporating AI into compliance. And then we'll do a live Q&A if we have some time left. So with that said, let's start with our first pulse check question. On a scale of 1 to 5, how much do you agree with the following statement? Everyone, prepare yourself. My AI knowledge is mostly limited to insert LLM, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. So 5, yeah, that's pretty much all I use. 1, what are you talking about? There's a whole world of AI there. I know all the things. Okay, Emily, as you see these responses coming in, what are you noticing and what thoughts are coming to mind?
Yeah, one that jumped out to me is in the chat. I saw somebody say yes to like GPTs, but also Granola, which is like a tool specific or a task specific AI tool for meeting transcription and summarizing. And I think that's where a lot of us are at. Maybe we feel really comfortable with like one tool we've seen that we know has AI somewhere in it. Maybe we've played around with a chat bot like ChatGPT from OpenAI. I would say I feel pretty close to like a 1 or a 2, where like I feel pretty confident that my knowledge is not limited to these, but I wasn't always like that, and I'm really excited to explore more with everybody today so that you won't be a 5 anymore either.
I love that. Let's call in someone who is in 5 land, just to give some contrast here. Someone who didn't put an asterisk next to their response. I'm gonna pick Let's do Glenda Les Flores. I'm not pronouncing that correctly. I'm so sorry, Le Flori. If you could unmute yourself, tell us about why you're at a five. What's been holding you back from going beyond ChatGPT?
So, what's holding me back is because I'm HR, and we're so careful with our work and not having our processes out there, and not having, we have special, um, you know, special words we use with our labor laws, and all of those things governing the work that we create. And I don't think AI has made me feel comfortable that it would be able to do it just how I would want it.
Oh, Glenda, thank you so much for sharing. In the comments, can we get a +1 if anybody else has also held back from exploring, not due to a lack of curiosity, but a lack of fear, a lack of understanding around what that means for confidentiality. Okay, okay. So you are not alone. Thank you for sharing, Glenda. And Emily, Emily actually gave me like a one-on-one private training on Zapier. And was that not my number one question that I asked? I was like, are you sure, Emily, I can connect this to my email? Are you sure no one's going to get access to my private calendar information? These are very important questions. You are not wrong to be thinking about these. So what I will do is I will try to either carve out time during the Q&A to chat through this a little bit more, or Emily, if it makes sense as you're building out the tools, if you remember to call out like, hey, you might be nervous, here's email, here's how you can know that, or here's who you should talk to confirm. If we can try and ease those in, we'll go ahead and do that. In the chat, just because I'm being mindful of time and I want to leave as much time for live demoing, please share in the comments if you're lower on the scale, if you're closer to a one, what AI tools are you using? And if you're higher on the five scale, share what else is holding you back. This will be helpful for us because we'll keep it in mind throughout the session. And I always look at these afterwards to help provide additional resources. Emily and I, if there's enough interest, will partner up on a primer to help address some of the things that come up on today's call. All right, cool. So with that said, Emily, I've got a question for you. I'm going to stop screen sharing now so people can see our lovely faces. For the people who are lower here, sorry, are higher on the scale of like, I only use ChatGPT. How did you get introduced to other AI tools and how did you become such a pro?
Oh my gosh, I have like a very specific moment in my origin story. So I work at Zapier. Most people would think it's like the minute I started working at Zapier, I became so technical with AI, but that's not true.
Ooh,
I
okay.
happen to know, I remember on a specific date, my chief people officer showed me a demo of a new product Zapier had just made that I'd never touched before called Agents. And he was like, have you seen this? Pretty cool. And that was the moment. I actually called my husband from a hotel room like an hour later and I said, when I get home, I am going to become our company's leading expert on this product. I know it doesn't make any sense because I don't work on the product, but I want to learn everything about it. I'm going to make it work for every use case I have for like 2 weeks, and I'm going to master it. And by doing that and understanding one AI product really deeply, I then was able to extrapolate that and like infuse my other processes with more understanding. And now I feel like I have a deep understanding of so many AI tools and processes.
Here's what I love so much about what you just said. There's two things that stand out to me. One is you didn't come in already an expert, which I think is so important because I will, in fact, can you give me a +1 in the comments if you feel like, do you know what? I don't know that HR is known for being technical experts. Like, I don't know if that's a thing that people think about when they think about HR. Okay, I'm not alone. I did not come into HR because I'm an expert in technical stuff. If I were a technical expert, I would have gone and been an engineer or something, okay? But I wasn't. And so to me, sometimes it can feel so intimidating and overwhelming, like AI, that doesn't feel like HR. That feels like a different field.
Mm,
And so to know you had no experience in this, but you could teach yourself, you could learn.
mm,
That's, I think, very motivating and important to keep in mind. Like we're all figuring this out. And the second thing is, I think often in this AI, world, there's this pressure and sense that you need to become an AI and an expert in all the things, all
yes.
the tools. And what I'm hearing you say is, no, start with one. That's fine. Even if it's ChatGPT, start with one, become a real expert, and then you'll start to learn how to think in more AI forward ways. And then from there, you can grow. Am I hearing you correctly?
Absolutely. And I also think it's really important to remind ourselves, since I know we've got like literally 400 incredible people on the chat who might be thinking, like, I don't see myself as technically literate or as a technical expert. I want to remind you the one thing that AI is very bad at is that human piece, that empathy, right? It's a computer, it can do computer things. So if you think about it as far as like technical meaning, like what is the hardest to do? What's the part that's going to require the most engineering? You all are incredibly technical in the thing that matters and the thing that you are going to need to bring in to augment what AI is good at. So this is going to really give you an opportunity to lean in and say like, I'm a great communicator. I'm great at empathizing. These are things I'm great at. You are technical in those ways, and we're going to leverage that.
Oh, such a great framing to put that. I remember when you were walking me through the training, pre-webinar. I felt exactly that way. I was like, oh, it's logic. It's literally just thinking about how different pieces work together. Yeah, I can do that. I can do that. So very motivational. Okay, let's do one more pulse check. This time I won't call on anyone, just to be mindful of time. On a scale of 1 to 5, how much do you agree with the following statement? 5 being agree, 1 being disagree. I know there's more that AI could be helping me with, but I don't know how to make it happen or where to start. How many of you are like, yeah, I know, I do believe, and one are like, no, no, I got this. Okay, okay. Seeing a lot of fives and fours, right? I believe in AI as the future. It's not that I'm against AI, which I think is so important because I think a lot of HR professionals are getting a bad reputation of being anti-AI. We're not
Mhm.
anti-AI. We want the AI. And also we want and need a little bit of guidance. We need somebody to show us the way and hopefully be more like Emily and be the ones creating the way. But in the meantime, what does the way look like? So my question for you, Emily, is you're a
Mhm.
learning designer. This is your time to shine. How do
Yeah.
you go about determining which parts of your job are prime candidates for AI partnership? Let's AI the heck out of this. And which parts of the job are maybe better left to human? Maybe AI is not the best use case to solve this problem.
Yes, I mentioned a minute ago, empathy is how we are all incredibly technical, right? Computers, they can't do that. They can emulate it, they can learn from it. And I think about empathy. People who might have heard me on other shows and stuff might have said to themselves, like, oh gosh, she's talking about it again. But empathy is where I like place my meter, right? I think to myself, is this a moment where human empathy is required? If the answer is yes, it doesn't mean AI can't be involved. It just means that AI should be carving out more time for me to do the human empathizing, or it should be assisting me to unblock those opportunities. Like if AI is helping me fill in a spreadsheet, that's great. Now I have more time to have interpersonal conversations. And I also think about where can I influence AI with my human empathy to give it a softer tone, to have it respond more appropriately when it is doing like frontline communications. And so those are some guiding thoughts. And one thing I'd encourage everyone on the call to think about as you start to adopt AI into your workflows is how am I going to draw that hard line for myself? AI is never going to be involved in this, but it's going to be involved in this. And then how am I going to communicate that transparently so anybody else could answer for me? And they're confident that they know where I'm never going to involve AI and where I might.
Oh, love that. Okay. Emily is kicking butt on timing here. So we're going to go ahead and let Emily shine. Emily, please take the lead. Go ahead and screen share when you're ready and tell us set the stage. What are you showing us now? What are we going to learn in the next few minutes?
Oh, you're so sweet. I am going to show you two different ways that you can move beyond ChatGPT using AI. The first thing we're going to do together is we're going to build something called a workflow, which is like a series of automated steps. And within that, we're going to use AI for a specific reason. And then the other thing we're going to do together is we're going to build an agent. About halfway through, we're going to require some participation from Melanie, but I want to give a little caveat before we kick off, which is if you've ever hung out with me before in any capacity, you know how important it is to me when I'm building. I've got that learning design in mind. I like to build a little bit and then wait make sure everybody's following along, build a little bit, wait, make sure you're with me. Today, we're going to take a slightly different approach. So I'm going to build at speed the way that I would build if you were not in the room with me. And that means that I'm not going to do as many pauses to wait. So if you came into this thinking like, oh, I'm going to build along with you, just keep in mind, if you get lost along the way, you can rewatch the recording, pause, and go at your own speed. But for today, I'm just going to keep plugging along so that I make sure I have the opportunity to show you two different ways to use AI. Don't worry if you fall behind. You're not lost for long. You're going to get the resource. Okay, let's go ahead and screen share. And Melanie, I'm also going to invite you as I'm doing this, if there are things that come up in the chat that you think would be really valuable to augment our understanding, feel free to interrupt at any time. I am going to start us off with one of two use cases. I am guessing I would get a million plus ones in the chat if I asked you all who struggles to stay on top of their email. Email is one of those frontline communications. If it's not Slack for me, it's email. Everything comes in one of those two places. And today I'm going to show you using a really simple workflow called a Zap how I can use AI to help me do a better job staying on top of email, which means people are getting what they need from me quicker. Before I do that, I'm going to let you know I could build this whole workflow by typing one sentence into Copilot. I could literally say, please draft email responses in Gmail with AI. But because I want you to have a deeper understanding today, I'm going to do it the manual way, the old-fashioned way, and build it in front of you.
Okay, but can we pause for a second and just say
Yes.
how cool that is to know that, like, if you are really basic level, there is
Yes.
the equivalent of ChatGPT even within Zapier to
Yes.
create the thing for you. I just think that's mind-blowing, but carry on.
I think that's amazing. And you can either have it auto build or you can ask it questions. You can toggle this back and forth if you just like, I want to build it, but I want to know what's going on, which again, like as a learning designer, it just warms my heart. In Zapier, we're in this product called Zaps or workflows, and we've got two parts. We've got a trigger, and the help text says, this is the event that's going to start my Zap. And then we've got an action. When I think about this in human terms, if I was just talking, it would look like this. When something, then something else. So my trigger for my Zap that I'm building right now is when I get a new email. When I get a new email, I want something to happen. My email is Gmail. So that's what I'm going to choose. If you use something else, if you use Outlook or another email service, we've got like over 8,000 different apps and tools. You can just search for it. Gmail happens to be one of the most common, so it's right at the top. And I know that I want this workflow, this automation to automatically happen when I get a new email in my inbox. That means I've got to pick my email here. And in this case, I don't care about any messages that go to like spam or anything else because I don't want to draft a response to those. So I'm just going to choose the mailbox of inbox. And I'll know this is working because I'll hit test. But Melanie, can you send me an email to my inbox?
Yes, I will. And then while we wait on that, because I have it takes like 30 seconds to send. I'll address a couple of questions that are coming up. Yes, this is an example of how to leverage Zapier
Mhm.
for AI tools. So there are other AI tools out there. We are in this webinar sampling Zapier. You could get your own account. If your company has an existing account, you could use that. You could ask to have like a sandbox account for one team, the whole company. But this is an example of how to use Zapier. We got to use one, and we're using Zapier. And then somebody had a question of, so Zapier uses embedded Copilot as the AI system. Sounds like yes, Emily, is that right?
That's a great question. There are several places in Zapier where you're going to see AI show up. Copilot is our embedded like assist. Like think of it as like your coworker in your build if you want to talk to someone. But in a second, and I'm actually going to click test trigger right now to pull in. Oh, It's making up records because it doesn't see Melanie's yet, but I just saw you hit my inbox, so I want to see if I can get
Good.
it to pull it in. Uh, we will add in an AI step here so you can see the other place that AI shows up. Let's see if I can grab my new email from Melanie yet. Mm-mm. Right. Oh, Emily, it's right there. Okay, we've got a test. It says, does this work or did this work from Melanie? Perfect. So we're going to build our workflow to do two things. We know that we want to create a draft response. That's like how it's going to save me time. It's not going to send anything for me. That's not my preference. I'd like to make sure anything that goes out, I have my eyes on and I can approve. But we're going to get ourselves started by using an AI step. Now, one of the questions was, is the AI that shows up at Zapier the copilot? Copilot's here with us the whole time. I can actually click lower left if you're looking where my mouse is. I can click here, pop up the copilot, and talk to it about what I'm building at any time. But what I want to do here is I want to insert an AI step that's going to read the email that came in and draft a response in my voice. I can do that through inserting like a ChatGPT step, or an easier way to do it is to use the AI by Zapier built-in tool. And this will touch a little bit on the security question. People are asking like, what do we do about processing potentially sensitive information? First of all, please always talk to your legal team. Your legal team is the best group to advise you on what your company would like you to do in terms of interacting with data using AI. But what they'll probably be pleased to know is that you can choose in our AI step any number of models and products that you might already have an enterprise agreement for. So for instance, if like I work at a company that has a Gemini enterprise agreement, I could hook up my company's Gemini account, and any agreement we have with Gemini about how our data is used is going to hold because all of the data is going to go through that particular enterprise account. I work at Zapier. I'm on Zapier's enterprise account using ChatGPT. That's what I'm going to use. You can see I can connect my own credentials. And so that is like just a note for security. But once you've got your AI model selected, you need to give the email to the AI step in order for it to help us draft a reply. What I'm going to want to do is I'm going to add in incoming email as a field that the AI step has access to. I'm going to grab it from this drop down here. I can see all the data that comes in with an email. Very cool. All that I actually need is the body of the email. And then I might also just tell it like, from, and then let's insert Melanie's name. And just in case, we'll insert Melanie's email. Okay, so now every time a new email comes into my inbox, this AI step is going to get dynamic data. So it's going to change every time. It's going to get the body of the email and the name of who sent it along with their email. And now I have to write a prompt. This is just like, again, if you've ever prompted ChatGPT or any of the like chatbot facing LLMs, we're going to do the same thing here, but we're going to tell it what to do with the email data. So I'm going to say, each time a new email comes in, let's go with analyze. Ooh, oh, spelling in front of a crowd is always hard. Read it. That's easier.
There we
Read
go.
it. uh, and try to match the tone, right? Draft reply in the voice of me, Emily Mabie. And then I'm going to say, here's a sample. And I'll just give it, I'm honestly just going to open my sent mail, grab a recent reply I've written to someone, and be like, here's what I sound like. Please emulate this. Because I think that that's the most effective way to match my actual voice is to grab one that's real.
What I love about this, by the way, is that if you're already familiar with ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, you're already familiar with some of the skills needed, right, to think about how to effectively prompt it within this Zap. Very cool.
Absolutely. And if you're thinking like, I am not confident, like Emily, you're making some assumptions. I do not feel confident writing a prompt. extra good news. See how this one told me I'm feeling a little insulted, but it's telling me my prompt strength is very weak. I can click this button, improve prompt, and this is meta, but AI will talk to AI about how to make the prompt better for AI. And it will just reformat my prompt into like what the ideal format is. So here it is saying like ensure your response reflects blah 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 blah, and it like reformatted my example and it told it all of these facts that make the prompt a little stronger. Most importantly here though, when I get a new email, then if you remember our then statement, I want it to draft an email. So I'm going to give it one output field to give me back, and it's just called draft reply. Draft reply. We're going to make it required and save. And then let's just see how it's working. Remember, Melanie sent a short email that just said, did this work? And our draft reply, oh, nice. It even has the same sign off I used.
Yeah.
Hi, Melanie. Thanks for checking in. Yes, everything worked perfectly. I appreciate you confirming. Now, here's the scoop. If I were to publish this right now and turn it on, nothing would happen because we didn't give the email back to Gmail as a draft. So far, our win then says when I get a new email, then have AI analyze it, then there's nothing else. So let's add the last step, which is another Gmail step. This time, the action it's going to use, I want it to create a draft reply. I don't just want a draft that ends up in my draft folder. I want that neat thing that happens where like someone sends you an email and the draft is right there attached to the email and all you have to do is hit send if you like it. So I'm going to go with create draft reply, and Melanie, I'm going to warn you in about a minute and a half, I'm going to ask you to send me another email if you want to
Okay. I'm gonna
start up,
keep it.
and it could even be the same darn thing you wrote before. Don't send it yet though. All
Okay.
right, we're going to hit continue on create draft reply. We're going to grab a few pieces of data. The great news is all the data we need got brought in the first two steps of our workflow. We already have the thread information. I'll show you how. We'll touch that little plus sign, go to the new email. I'm just going to search for the word thread. There it is. There's the ID for the thread. Every time an email comes in, it will get a new thread ID for replying, and that'll be swapped out automatically each time. The to also comes in our email. I know who this is to. It's to Melanie. But if I get an email from someone else, that will be replaced every time. And then the only other thing I need to add is the body of the email. AI is taking care of that for us. It's that output here, right? Our output, hey, Melanie, that's going to go in there. And then I can hit continue. Best part is I can hit test. All right, let's see how we did. I'm going to go ahead and go to my inbox. All right, oh, it already happened. I was going to say while we're waiting for that, let's start our other workflow, but it already went.
Great.
Look at that. Okay, so here's Melanie's email to me. There's that red draft information on there, which means there's a draft email waiting to be sent, but it doesn't get sent without me, right? This is where we have guardrails. So if I open it up, there we go. There's a draft reply just waiting for me to hit send, which I can do because it's a real email. Melanie will have gotten that. And that all happens behind the scenes every minute of the day while I'm working. I just have to carve out a few minutes to go into my inbox, either send, or edit them a little bit so that they feel right for me. But that's one way that we can use AI, in this case, in a workflow, AI right here in the middle to make more time for us to do the stuff that humans do best, which is connecting with each other. I can have way more one-on-one conversations if I'm not spending hours a day responding to like sales pitches that I get. And also, here's your little tip from me. The way that I use this most, I mentioned the sales pitches, in the version that I did not build right in front of you, but that I use for myself, I actually instruct it to look for sales pitch emails and give a firm but polite and friendly no. And I actually read each one as practice because I have a very hard time saying no to like sales emails. It's helpful for AI to give me a first draft, but I like to be able to like exercise that skill a little bit. So that's how I tend to use my email filter AI workflow. But that's the first one we're going to build. I'm going to pause there. Melanie, do you have any questions to enrich our experience before we build our other workflow?
I think we're good. And so you didn't need me to send a second email, right?
No,
Nope.
I thought we might have to wait for that one, but it was so fast.
Great. Love. Okay. Nope. All good.
Amazing. Okay, so this was a workflow. You heard me saying when something happens, then something happens, then something happens. We are going to take that same concept, the when then concept, but instead of building a workflow, which is going to run exactly the same way every time I get a new email, AI will analyze it and draft a reply. Now we're going to turn that concept around just a little bit. We're still going
And
to think about when then. Go for it, Melanie.
Emily, I'm just gonna just to clarify very quickly. Somebody's saying like, "Oh, is this Zap set up just for my emails?" But like emails coming from me, and the answer is no, right? It's like for all incoming emails.
Great question. Yeah, every one of you 400 people could send me an email right now. Don't. But
Please
if
do.
you did, if you all did, any new email will trigger this. If I wanted to change that fact, then there is a configuration. I can choose like different labels and make sure like, oh, only emails that come in with this label. I could add a filter step. We've got something called filter so that like only continue if the email's from Melanie. Like maybe we've got a great relationship and I want it to find gifts, but I don't want that to happen for like serious communications. So I can customize this completely. Good question. Okay, great stuff. So we're going to move away from the workflows tool to something called an agent. You've probably been hearing about agents because they're all the rage right now. This looks really messy. I'm so sorry, but I have hundreds of agents running internally at Zapier for me. So that's why it looks like this. We're going to build a fresh one today. I'm going to click the new agent button and I'll tell you what we're building. Now, just like in the workflow we were just in, there's a copilot. It's incredible. If I give it one sentence, it'll build this whole agent. But unfortunately, you're working with me. So again, we're not going to do that. We are going to build it from scratch so that we understand it really well. And oops, I wanted to collapse that, but that's not what I want to touch. Okay, we are going to build an agent that is also a when then statement. We're always thinking when then when we're automating and when we're using AI in our automations like we're doing today. In this case, let's think about our work environment. So I work at a company where everything we do happens in Slack. You might work in Teams or something else. For me, it is Slack all day, every day. We have thousands of channels. I have a personal nightmare of missing something I said I was going to do, just like losing it in the abyss of Slack. That to me is the worst case scenario of like anything I can think of. And so I want to build an agent today that when someone asks me to do something in Slack, all I have to do is use an emoji to react to it. And then that Slack ask is going to be analyzed by AI. It's going to figure out like how long is this probably going to take? How urgent is it? Like when should I schedule it? And then I want that same agent to read my Google Calendar to figure out when I'm free or busy and then schedule me time linked back to that Slack message so that I never miss anything I'm asked to do in Slack. So there's sort of our narrative of what we're going to build. We have 10 minutes and we're going to get this built and working in less than 10 minutes, starting with our when then statement. So when I build an agent, my when in our workflow was the trigger, that first app we drop in. Same thing with the agent. My when is this trigger up here. I'm going to look for Slack because I want it to be when I react to something in Slack. Then let's set this off. So I'm going to find the word reaction, new reaction added. Fantastic. When Emily, maybe it's Zapier. Let's see. Reacts with, let me pick. I'm going to go with, ooh, let's go with will do. Okay, we have an emoji at Zapier called will do. And I'm going to look for it. If you have your own library of emojis, you'll see yours here too. And again, if you don't use Slack, if you use Teams, you can build a different agent that just so happens to be what I use. And then the other thing I need to think about is I want to make sure it only triggers when I use that emoji. So I'm going to find myself here. Uh, if I wanted to, I could have an agent that triggers when literally anyone at the company uses an emoji. And sometimes that's good. Like, anyone can react to this Slack message to get an invite to our professional development. That's great. But for this one, I just want it to trigger for me. Only schedule work for me, please. And then we'll think about our then statement. So far we've got when a new reaction is added in Slack, then when a new reaction is added in Slack, step one, I want my AI agent that's like a digital teammate. So think about how you might talk to like an intern or a coworker. I'm going to say like, hey, okay, you got something in Slack. Then I want you to think about the ask, like think about what you're being asked to do. Analyze the to do within the Slack message. And the great thing is, an agent itself is built on AI. So I don't need to send this to ChatGPT. I already have AI within this product. So it's just going to be able to do these analytical or summarization tasks by itself. I don't have to insert anything there. So I'm going to say first analyze the Slack message. Then let's have it determine how urgent the ask is and approximately how long it will take. Step 3, I want this agent to look at my Google Calendar and find a time when I'm free to work on the task. And then finally, I want it to book that time. That's the most important part. I don't want anything to get lost. Book that time as a calendar event and be sure to include the link to the Slack message so I can refer back to the task if I forgot it. All right. Now, so far, we've got when the new Slack reaction is added, then follow these instructions, but I've got bad news. So far, if I were to set this off, it's going to be able to analyze because it's built on AI. It's going to be able to determine how urgent a task is, but I did not give it access to my Google Calendar, right? There's nowhere in here where I inserted that tool. That's a good thing because we are giving agents parameters like guardrails. They're only able to do what we give them access to. It's only able to turn on when a new reaction is added. It'll only be able to look at my Google Calendar if I insert that tool. So that's a good thing. It's just that we have to pause and do that now. So I'm going to add tools here. And one thing that's awesome about agents is they can search the web, they can visit specific websites, which like a ChatGPT step can't always do when you're automating. And that can be really valuable if you're like, hey, every time this runs, go search the web for like how to do this task and just put it in the calendar event. Like give me a starting point. I do that a lot with my to-dos. But for now, we're looking for calendar, Google Calendar, Google Calendar. Okay, there it is. And we can either have it find data or we can have it go put data on the calendar, like take action. In this case, what I want it to do is find my events so that it knows when I'm free and when I'm busy. I'm going to choose the find events, find data action here. Click on the little gear to set it up. You can let your agent make a ton of choices in these actions. So like I could tell it like every time you run, only find when I'm free and busy tomorrow and give it start times and end times. I'm just gonna leave it wide open. I'm gonna say as long as you're looking at my Google Calendar, you go for it. And then if I want to give it extra parameters, maybe I'll type them in. So I'll say, I only work between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. So please don't schedule me
I will
outside.
never understand you morning people, but I still respect it, Emily. I respect it.
I appreciate that. As long as we have your support.
You do. You do.
So far, I've given it access to find stuff on my Google Calendar, but what I also care about is booking time, and I have not given it access to that yet. So back into the tools. We're gonna grab Google Calendar once again. Oh, it was right there on the starting page. And this time, I want it to take action. I want it to make a detailed event. And here's the thing, I could give it a ton of information in here about like always call the event, like work on Slack to-dos, right? I could give it a specific value for the summary and the title and everything, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to see how the agent does doing it all on its own. And then I can adjust it if it's not working. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to reshare my screen because I want to show you a real Slack message and I'll react to it and then we'll see this agent run. So let me pull Slack over here. Whee! Melanie, can you give me a thumbs up? Can you all see that?
I can see it.
Okay, so these are real Slack messages in my real work environment. Let's go with this one. So I'm going to react will do to this ask. It says like, okay, there's an MBR, shouldn't take more than 30 minutes, but we need to do it by the 26th. Okay, now let's test this out. Test. We're going to let our agent run for a second here. And something that's great about agents, once again, like if you're thinking, I'm not technical, every part of what it's doing, it's going to communicate with you like your colleague would. So it's like, hey, right now I'm analyzing the Slack message. Oh, wow, it already grabbed it. That was fast. Okay. So it's saying like, I see the task is this MBR coda review. The estimated time is 30 minutes. You have to do it by the 26th. It assessed the urgency. That's great. Now it's looking at my Google Calendar. I can look at like the data information in each of these steps too if I want to make sure it's looking at what I want it to. But in this case, I'm just interested in reading its sort of narrative. And now it's saying, great, I'll schedule you to work on this. Oh, great, at 7:30 a.m. That's fantastic. That gives me time after morning catch up. Perfect. Now, here's the thing. The great thing about agents is they run automatically. You don't have to push buttons to make them work, except when you're testing. So this purple approve button is here because I'm in the testing mode. Once I turn my agent on, turn on that purple button, it'll just run automatically and I won't have to worry about that. But for now, we're testing. I'm approving this. Whee! It's going to create my Google Calendar event and we'll take a look at what it looks like and we'll be right under the wire for our timeline here. Okay, we've got a summary, an event title called Review MBR. It says this is a task from Slack. Here's the original message. Perfect. And then it tells me about why it selected that time. That's awesome. Let's go to Google Calendar and see where it put it. Oh, classic Emily. You know what I didn't tell it?
Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday. So it did a great job. It found a great time slot if I were working on Saturdays. Agents are still robots. They're not perfect, so we have to give it more information, but we'll stop here because it did follow all my directions. It just didn't have all the information in my brain. So now
Love
I
it.
can give it more information before I turn it on. In this case, I'm just going to turn it on because it works well enough. I'll just add it later, but I'm going to stop my screen share because I'm going to pass it back over to Melanie. You all stuck with two really high speed demos. Once
Yep.
again, if you wanted to build along and you didn't have a chance, please watch the recording later and just slow it down for yourself.
Love that, Emily. Cannot emphasize this enough. Oh, it's a new thing. So if it feels overwhelming, that's normal, right? That doesn't mean it's going to feel overwhelming always. Think about the first time you stepped into running an investigation, helping your team with commission planning. All those things are new. And so I'm really excited, Emily, about the potential here. I know somebody had flagged like, hey, it seems like the work to set this up is longer, takes longer than writing the email itself. But the idea, right, my understanding, Emily, is like once you set it up, then it's forever, right? So like it took you maybe 15 minutes to set this up, but it saves you long term. How many hours would you say it saves you in a week?
Oh man, with that one by itself, because of how in my own head I get about especially things like sales emails and not wanting to be rude, it easily saves me, just the email one easily saves me an hour a week. And you're right, 15 minutes at the onset, way longer than it would take me to respond to one email. But
Yeah.
over time, it adds up.
Yep, I believe it. That was something that really landed with me when you and I chatted for the first time. It was like it's not about having one project that now shrank down to by 3 hours. It's about the little 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 5 minutes here that are cognitive load, decision making fatigue, just distracting you from the things you have to do that over time will really amplify your impact and ability to focus. Last quick question, and then I'll turn it over to another demo, a separate Athena demo is um, somebody asked, and I flag it because I see this a lot. What is the difference between an agent and a workflow, and why might you choose, and why in this example would you choose to go with an agent approach over a workflow approach?
Absolutely. Okay, great question. So agents are able to make inferences. A workflow is going to run the exact same way every time. It's going to go step one, step two, step three, every single time. Even if the AI step changes what the outcome looks like a little bit, it's still going to be packaged exactly the same way. An agent is able to inference. It's not as deterministic. So in this case, like I could give the agent vague instructions, no instructions about certain things, it might make choices like, oh, you reacted with an emoji and there's actually no task in this instance. So, like, it might decide for me that it's not going to do certain things or sort of stretch the limits and bounds, which is why we put guardrails on it. And for instance, if I say, please schedule things within 3 days, but it reads a to do and it's like, oh, this is actually due in 4 months and it says don't start working on it until X, the agent can use its inferencing and make decisions about changing the order in which it works or the outcome a little bit that a workflow cannot do. So sometimes that's what you really want. You want that freedom and that creativity kind of. Other times it's too much of a risk and you don't want that. You want to lock it in a workflow.
Which I think is an important flag because people in the comments were also asking about like the importance of guardrails and having boundaries. And so workflow sounds like might be like even more boundaries, which is great for depending on the context. Emily, thank you so much. Speaking of AI, I believe in the power of AI. Athena believes in the power of AI. And so we have been thinking a lot about how we make sure that exactly as we've been talking about, how do we use AI to make sure that people are spending more time on the things that matter, that are high impact, that are also high energy, right? Who wants to be doing tedious things like writing an email response to a sales rep when they could be instead, driving impact across their employees, educating, rolling out AI adoption, all the things. And so one of the things that we're focusing quite a bit on, Athena, is how to do that for anyone in compliance and training land. And I will flag that, Emily, I am such a fan of Zapier. And everybody, if you haven't looked into Zapier, you should go check it out. And also, I want to acknowledge that many of us are still at the beginning stages. And so I would encourage you to look at your vendors and see what AI has already been built into vendors within other areas of your work, so that like while you are building your expertise on Zapier and ChatGPT and all these things, you can also find other areas to reduce workload and cognitive load in your space. And so here I'm just going to quickly showcase one of those ways that we're trying to make people's lives easier is by incorporating AI into training and deck creation. Very exciting. And so I'll show you just an example of what this could look like. So in fact, can I get a +1 in the comments if you have ever spent too much time putting together a training, spent too much time thinking about the format of the font, where to place the picture, what gift to use? Yeah, not fun stuff. And so we're trying to reduce that for you. So what we have done is we actually have several different types of slide types for a training. You could have your typical text plus image. You could have a carousel of images. You could have a check on learning, which is another way of saying, hey, we're going to test your knowledge. Were you paying attention to the training? Did you actually process what we just said? Which is quite important both for any trainings like manager training, onboarding training, sales training. What is the process that we use for sales? Do you understand our product? But even more important when it comes to compliance training, right? Did you understand what the law says around what is and isn't harassment? Also, pulse questions just to check. How do you feel? Like, do you feel like would you feel more comfortable intervening if you saw an inappropriate action take place in the workplace? So all these options available to you, policy attestation, all these things. For the purposes of this demo, what I want to show you is an example of creating a slide. So in this one, I decided let's do a check on learning. Let's actually check if somebody properly understood the information. So I'm going to open this up. I pre-set it up. I pre-populated it. In this example, I wrote Henry and Sarah. They're longtime friends at a company. They're on the marketing team, and it's Sarah's birthday. She's turning 30, and Henry reaches out to Tasha to say, "Hey, we should do something fun." I want this to be dynamic. I don't want it to be a boring slide. I want it to be interactive. I want it to look like a Slack conversation. Or you could say, I want it to look like a phone chat. So we have a variety of options to make it look more engaging, more relevant, all at the click of a button. Here's the conversation that you have. You can set up the personas, you can set up the people, you can make it as simple as you like. These are already pre-filled for you. You can just add or change if you want. And here's the conversation that I might want to have. Okay. So maybe Henry says, "Hey, Tasha, Sarah's birthday is coming up. We should do something fun." Tasha says, "Great idea. What were you thinking?" Henry says, "Well, she's turning 30. So, what would be a good idea? We should put her picture into ChatGPT and we should tell it to make her look real old." And Tasha says, "I'm not sure that's such a great idea." And maybe Henry, look how easy it is. You just add, click Henry. Maybe Henry says, "Oh, come on. Don't be a buzzkill." And then what you can say is you put in the question, right? Is this an appropriate use of AI at work? And then you can put whatever answers you want. And then just so you can see what it looks like, here's the preview. So all I did is I put in the fields, and because of our AI powered behind the scenes work, this is what it spits out for your team. So you now have a much more engaging, dynamic, new type of training that took very little work. What you focused on was the strategy, right? What you focused on was what are the things that people need to take away? What would be a good, effective scenario? Which, by the way, you could also partner with ChatGPT, right? "Hey, ChatGPT, can you give me some scenarios of where AI could go wrong?" You leverage that, you plug it in here, and then it spits out a slide that took you very little time to create. It looks very nice. It's engaging to your employees. They actually pay attention because it's relevant to them. It's not just in text on a slide. Um, and you could do many different versions of this, right? I'm going to exit here. In this one, we did it and this one I staged it as a text message. And so this preview would look different. It would be text message, right? And so again, there's a variety of options so that you are actually engaging your learners, because we know that in order for your employees to actually pay attention, it has to be interesting. I will also very quickly show before I move it over to a few minutes of Q&A. Another area where we're really leaning into AI, and I would encourage you all to think about it, is again, how are you reducing your cognitive load and time? Give me a +1 if you get the same question from employees over and over again, whether it's what is our medical insurance provider? Where do I go to submit my PTO? How do I log in to take my training? At Athena, we have a policy bot that you can turn on, and it only pulls from the policies that you upload to it. So it will never hallucinate. It will never pull from the internet. And we have preloaded it here. And I love this because I don't have time to be answering all the same questions again and again for our employees. So an employee could just say, "What is our PTO policy?" And what would happen is it would look through our information. It's going to take a second to generate. It's actually tied into ChatGPT, so it takes a quick second. And then it would tell you, it's literally pulling, this is Athena's PTO policy that we uploaded it. And it will link you to, it will link your employees to that policy. But here's where it gets even better. We have analytics. We capture that information. Now, we keep it anonymous because we don't want to dissuade employees from asking questions that they might otherwise avoid asking, right? Maybe they want to ask, "Hey, I saw this thing. Is that against the rules? Or, am I allowed to date someone? How many times can I ask them out before that's, breaking our policy?" Right? We still want them to feel safe, but we don't want to lose that data. So it's anonymous, but it is aggregated. And so you can start to see now, oh, interesting. A lot of people have been asking questions about our PTO policy. I wonder where that's coming from. And you can see the individual questions that are coming in as well. You can start to now understand, oh, interesting. A lot of people have been asking about the dating policy. That popped up about a month ago. I wonder if something triggered that. Like, why is that coming up, right? You can also see questions that came up and maybe there wasn't anything to populate, which might be an indicator to you, ooh, people are asking a lot of questions about AI in the workplace and we don't have a policy in place for that. That might be a good sign that we need to create something. And so, again, I would encourage you all to be thinking about exactly as Emily is saying, how are you using AI to to maximize your impact so that you are spending less time on the things that are eating away at your day and not adding to your impact, not adding to your own growth, and more time on, oh, what can I do with this data? And now that I don't have to spend all this time answering the same question again and again and again, I just have it all in one place aggregated and I can action on it. So thank you all. That is it for that screen share. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put up for everyone who was here for SHRM or HRCI credits. I'm going to put up the those codes right now. And then as Ace is doing in the behind the scenes, we have a quick poll for you. If you could take 10 seconds just to answer this poll, and then I will ask Emily just one question before we call it for today's session. Emily, is it interesting to you as like I always wonder as like an AI wizard, do you see these new things that AI vendors are doing? You're like, oh, I know how they set that up, or like, oh, I wonder if I can replicate that, you know? For the people who maybe can't replicate it, but like maybe you're thinking like, can I replicate it internally on my own?
Sometimes I will tell you one spot that for me is a black box is everybody on the call. I don't want anyone to assume like Emily uses AI for everything and she thinks there's no place where it shouldn't be. That is not true. There are plenty of places I don't use AI. One of them, I do not use AI for anything that's like image generation or art. And so when I see products that are like we'll get like pitched like this can make a
Oh.
slide deck in minutes and like I that's a black box to me. I'm like, how are you doing that? Because I I do not stay current on like how it makes video and stuff like that. That's not my bag.
Oh, I really like, I think that's important to talk about. Everyone's got their own like boundaries, ways of thinking of things, and I think that's okay. I was talking to somebody the other day who was like, Melanie, are you using ChatGPT for your LinkedIn post? Because if you're not, like maybe you're not like really maximizing. And I was kind of like, I don't know. I really enjoy writing, and
Yeah.
writing is how I think. Could I use ChatGPT to do it? Yeah, I could, but like is that where I'm trying to save time and spend less time? No, to be honest, I want to spend less time on answering emails. I want to spend
Yeah.
less time answering employee questions.
Yeah.
And so I really like that balance. Patty asked a question that I asked you, so I'll flag it. It's also a quick one, so I think we can squeeze it in. Are there any privacy concerns with drafting email responses, right? You're an HR person. You've got really sensitive information in your inbox. Is it okay to give Zapier access to do this stuff?
Yes, and I also in the Q&A tab, I was typing answers to several of the
Oh,
questions, and the security one is a popular one. I was sad to see that someone said like, I see so much hand waving about security because it's important.
okay.
So, as with all things, I don't want to speak for all your email providers and everything. I would highly recommend if you're going to be handing data to AI in any way, connect with your departments or your company's legal team and ask them about like how is our data protected? What data, even if it is protected, do we still not want to give to a particular tool or AI step? Because it can also be the case that like you might have a really strong enterprise agreement that protects your data, and there still might be things that they're like, "Ooh, please don't share customer data. Please don't share this type of data." So I hate to be that guy who's like, don't ask me, ask legal, but please do ask legal because every company is different and you are all using different providers and different apps.
That is exactly right. And like for what it's worth, Emily, we had a whole session on this. If people are interested, reach out. We asked all about these questions for an hour with two lawyers, and it was the same advice. It was talk to your in-house counsel and talk to your IT team because
Yes.
sometimes if a system updates, it could automatically like change a lever that you didn't realize. So talk to your IT teams, talk to your legal teams, and if you want more information on that, check out the webinar that we did on this. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. We literally had two lawyers on the call talking about exactly this. Um,
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. Emily, this is amazing. Thank you so much. I am going to rewatch the recording in at point 0.5 speed so that I can replicate it with you. I'm so excited. I learned so much. Thank you all. If you've got any questions, please reach out to me, to Emily. You've got our LinkedIn's. Thank you so much. Emily, any final words before we end it today?
Go make yourself an expert in something and stop thinking you're not technical because you are.
Yes, love it. Thank you. All right, bye everyone. Bye, Emily.
Bye.